So tonight we'll be going through all these different strategies for you, and we're actually going to take the niche and domain name that we have and build it all the way up to the point where we know exactly what we're going to be building on our website. We know what all the pages are going to be targeting and what they will be about. We know where we're going to promote products on our website. So to start with, I begin by actually doing some more keyword research. If you remember at the end of last lesson, I briefly began to show you how I would then take my niche and expand on it with some additional keyword research on Google to try to figure out what pages I will create on the site and the various keyword phrases that I might be targeting on those pages. So as you know, I'm building downcomforterguide.com. So all I'm going to do is simply to enter this product or service into the Google Keyword Planner here, and I'm going to simply browse through some of the results that come up for me. Now, I actually like the ad group ideas area. The keyword ideas are really great, and you can find some specific keywords that you might be searching for, but for this particular purpose, I'm thinking more in terms of organization for my entire site, and I'm trying to actually figure out what the best ideas may be to target on this website. And obviously I want all this to flow with the primary idea that I have behind my entire website. And I want this to be not only useful for my website visitors, but then I need a way to connect all of that in with my advertising so that it actually converts into some sales for me. So the way that I actually will go about doing this is with this ad group ideas page, and I begin by simply browsing through the list, and I try to think about what ideas here could fit with my targeted primary keyword phrase for my site, and what just simply works for the niche that I'm going after. So I'll try to think about this in terms of organizing. When you look through this particular list, for example, you see that there is a king, a queen, a twin ad group idea. Obviously, these are all going to be sizes of these down comforters. And then you also have this main category of size down. So instantly, I begin to sort of group these concepts together in my head. And as I'm doing this, I will open up a notepad file on my computer. I use Windows. If you're using Mac, any kind of word processor would work just fine. The idea here is to simply take notes as you go, but you want to try to get a little more in detail with it. You could begin by simply running through all of these ad group ideas and making a list of the ones that you think might be relevant for your website. But then once you've done that, go back through your list and actually expand each of these ad group ideas and look at the actual keywords that it is showing you here. This way you can pick out a specific keyword phrase that you will decide to target on a particular page of your website. Now, you don't have to necessarily target a keyword phrase on every single page of your site, but it is a good idea to have at least some of the pages of your website targeting some type of Google phrase that receives traffic. And I'm not talking about a ton of traffic here. For example, if I were to target a keying down comforter keyword phrase, I would not necessarily want to instantly go to the highest traffic phrase that I could find on this list. I want to think about this in terms of like I was doing with my niche and primary keyword phrase selection. I want to pick a keyword phrase that is likely to have much lower competition, because these are only going to be essentially secondary pages of my website that will be targeting these phrases. So there's not going to be a lot of extra extended content that's covering these subject matters. So I'm trying to target these phrases on a single page of my site. So I want to make sure that the actual competition for that phrase is likely to be low enough to actually have a possibility of getting up into the top 10. Now, you don't have to successfully hit the top 10 with every single page of your website and all the different secondary phrases that you are targeting. But the idea here is to simply create your website that is all about your primary subject matter. So then you should be able to get traffic in through that main phrase, and then you will have a number of these other secondary phrases that will also help to bring in additional traffic for you. So I might be looking for something here under 500 monthly searches, in general at least, and it really doesn't matter if I have to go incredibly low when I am actually looking for one of those keyword phrases, like this down alternative comforter keyword phrase. Further down the list, there's something, a number of them actually, these versus or essentially comparison type of keyword phrases, and all of these phrases have really low traffic, 30, 20, 10 monthly searches on them. Some people might think that it's not worth your time to try to target these phrases, but I don't necessarily look at this as me trying to attract this particular traffic. I'm thinking more along the lines of, this could be a really great subject for an article on my site, and it will actually be useful and help the main purpose behind my entire website overall. So you're not only wanting to focus on traffic numbers here, but simply what might fit the best for your website and what will make a good potential page topic for you. So for the sake of brevity tonight, because I actually take a lot of notes when I'm personally going through this type of research and using my notepad file. So I didn't want to have to sit here and actually type all that out for you guys as I was trying to sit here and teach you about various things. So I have gone ahead and typed out some of these lists so you can see what I'm actually referring to. And I've also added screenshots of these into tonight's guidebook as well, so you can actually see where I try to go with my sites and what exactly stands out as being important subjects to me, because it's not necessarily the subjects that are going to directly allow me to promote a particular product. It might be one of the subjects that is kind of in between there, where I can bring in the consumer to that subject and then from there pass them along to a page that might be trying to promote a particular product based on the information that I might already know about this website visitor, simply because of the page that they've landed on my website, or the page that they're viewing on my website. I might know that they have particular interest within my niche, and I can try to forward them along to the correct products instead of simply building an entire website full of nothing but product reviews. So this is actually my initial list that I have come up with for all of my keyword phrases on this website. And as you can see, I've got all these different sizes for keyword phrases. I have down alternative comforters and all hypoallergenic keyword phrases. I've also found a wide variety of really helpful sounding keyword phrases for what is known as down fill or fill power. And this is actually the filling that goes into these down comforters. And based on where the goose, for example, has actually lived within their lifetime and their health conditions and at what stage throughout the year they've shed their down feathers, all this stuff actually controls the fill power of a down comforter. And I never really knew all this stuff before until I actually went through and did some research on this subject matter. And all of this really controls how comfortable the comforter is in the end. So I felt like this could be a really, really great topic to address and to actually educate people about what these numbers actually mean, because when you're just browsing through Amazon and you see something that says 600 fill power, most people don't really understand what exactly that's talking about. I've also identified other subjects like thread counts, different brands that are popular, not just necessarily on Amazon, but actually brands that show some type of search engine traffic for my particular niche. And then I have some other potential subject matters that I've come up with that a lot of them are informational. I've also identified some of the popular accessories that go along with these down comforters and identified some of the most popular colors that people are actually searching for these down comforters. So I've simply gone through and made a list of all of these different keyword phrases to begin with. And just so you can actually see where some of this stuff is coming from, if I go into the size ad group right here, you can see that there are a number of different keyword phrases. Some of them are essentially repeating the same thing. I have a queen keyword phrase up here and another queen keyword phrase further down below. This one is showing up with only having 30 searches a month, and this one is receiving 320 searches a month. Now, ordinarily, I might actually go for the lower traffic keyword phrase here if I am deciding to target this on a secondary page of my website, for example. But 320 is really not that high. So this is the keyword phrase that I ended up selecting. And as you can see over on my list here, I went with similar keyword phrases for each of the different size types that are available for these comforters. And with this initial phase in your site and page planning research, you're not actually necessarily making a final decision on what your page topics are going to be about. This is simply brainstorming and picking some information out of Google. And even if I don't end up building a specific page on my site to target each and every one of these different keyword phrases, I still may be able to use them within the content of my pages to try to still bring in search engine traffic from these phrases, even though they may not be the main keyword phrase that I'm targeting on a particular page. Once I've actually gone through and made my initial list from all these keyword phrases, I have a couple more places where I like to find ideas for potential page topics for my website. because I simply don't want to solely rely upon Google and all the keyword phrases that they provide, because number one, I believe that it really won't make a completely useful website. I think Google may be able to detect when websites are solely based upon a keyword phrase for every single page throughout the entire site, because after all, this is Google's data right here. And this is actually their keyword list that we're pulling from. So it's with all the technology that they have in place these days, it's very realistic to assume that they could quickly pick up on something like that. So I like to do what I call a little bit of randomization on my page topics, and I will go outside of Google itself to try to find some of these ideas. And one of the obvious places that I go is on Amazon, and I actually talked about some of this in the very first lesson of the Azon Masterclass, where I'm simply researching different products or brand names that may be on Amazon, and then once I've actually found particular products there, first of all, I could actually target product names or even brand names on my website if I feel like they are popular, commonly searched for brand names or products within my niche. I definitely think it's okay to build a couple of pages on your site that are centered around those brands or products. And this is completely okay in terms of trademark and copyright infringements, because you're not actually registering a domain name with these brand names in them. You're just building a page on your website to simply talk about the brand name and then to promote some of their products as an affiliate. And so this is actually the easy and legal way that you can get around the fact that you really should not be registering domain names that have a brand name in them. You could simply target that brand name on a secondary page of your website. And so after you've gone through and made your keyword list, go back through your list and use Amazon and try to come up with some additional phrases that you could potentially target. And you may even then want to take those phrases back to Google and just see if there is any search engine traffic based on those brands or product names. If you can't find any, it's quite all right. As I was mentioning before, you don't have to have a keyword phrase targeted to every single page on your site. I believe that this actually helps the overall ranking of a web page, because Google views it as simply being a more realistic and naturally built website instead of being something that was built straight from a list of Google keywords. So you may remember this this Penzon down comforter that I was discussing in the very first lesson. I can actually revisit this product and other products that I was researching before at this point, and do some additional research in terms of trying to figure out, what are some important selling points that consumers are actually interested in and wanting to find out more information about before they complete a purchase on a particular type of product. And, as I had mentioned previously, Amazon is a really great place to actually find this if you just look close enough and know actually where to look on their site. Right up here at the beginning, I have different sizes and styles. As you remember, the sizes are obviously something that is of interest because there was easily search engine traffic that I was able to find for these different size phrases. But then I also have this style, and it's actually in reference to the warmth of the comforter. So this could again be another really popular selling point or point of interest on these products that could be worth making the topic of an entire page of my site, or I could simply mention it somewhere else throughout my website on a page where that kind of information would fit in. If you go a little bit further down this particular page, I have this comparison chart here that Penzon has created right here. There's a lot of different information in here if you just look through it and look at the different phrases and words that they are using in this comparison chart. These could be really important terms for this particular niche or for this particular type of product or their brand, for example. So they have white goose down and white down and Primaloft. They also have this Pyrenees name that seems to go along with all their different products. So these names could be well worth looking into a little bit more and see if there's any information out there about what these actually are, because if you read through the descriptions that they offer you here, they really don't tell you much of anything specific about the actual down that is going inside of their comforter and what these different names are meaning. So there could be other people out there that are possibly interested in this information. And if you can grab those people off of Google, they may have just come from Amazon looking at this particular product. And then maybe they go to Google to try to find out additional information about something about that product that they don't completely understand. So you position yourself as a middleman to try to pick up that traffic, which may have simply just come from Amazon. And if you can get them to proceed through your site and click on a link to return back to Amazon, once you have satisfied their need for information, you can easily position yourself to refer sales that honestly Amazon may have been able to achieve on their own without you possibly. But you're putting yourself in there as the middleman and actually helping the customer to make a final decision. So, you know, if those customers couldn't find that information on Amazon, there is a potential that Amazon could simply lose those sales. I'm sure they would end up converting some of them, but this is a way that you can actually help to improve those conversion rates for them and also kind of draw in some of this traffic to your site before they actually go through and complete their purchase. Over on the left-hand side here of this comparison chart, there are even more keyword phrases that should be particular points of interest for people that are interested in this type of product. The size dimensions, this was one thing that I was able to find in the keyword phrases, as you remember. So they actually provide the actual dimensions for these different sizes based on the size type that I have selected up top here. And then down below, they actually tell you for the different warmth styles for these comforters, how much filling is actually in each of the different levels. They tell you the fill power. They tell you the construction, which is actually the stitching of the entire comforter, which is done to trap all of the down in place so it doesn't shift around. They tell you the shell that is around the comforter and actually give you the thread count that goes along with it. And then they even give you the pattern of the comforter as well. So pretty much any of these things could, once again, be very valid and important selling points for customers out there. They might be simply looking for more information on what that type of stuff really means, so they can make an educated decision on what the best product is to buy for them. Now, you should remember me talking about the customer questions and answers that Amazon has. You won't necessarily find this on all products on Amazon, but it will be there for most of their popular products. Typically, you will need, a lot of people interested in the product enough to actually ask the questions, and then you need enough people that have actually purchased the product to be able to respond to those questions before it actually gets generated on Amazon to the point where it's going to be useful for you. So simply read through each of these questions and the answers that people have provided here, and pick out points of interest that you could target on your web page with a particular topic or keyword phrase, for example. But if you can't find a keyword phrase and it still seems to be something that consumers are interested in, still build a page about it anyways. Because if you're bringing people to your website through other keyword phrases or through your primary keyword phrase, for example, this type of information could be very, very important to your website visitors, even though they may not have actually searched for it. But then if they find that readily available on your website, a little kind of spark instantly goes off in their head, and they're just like, hey, this website's pretty useful. I kind of like this place, and I'm going to check it out more and read through some more of this information, and I like what I'm getting here. So a lot of people really don't seem to take the time to dig into these products and actually figure out what people are interested in when it comes to those products and the questions and the problems that they have revolving those products. Some of these that have answers actually will have a bunch of different answers. You can click on these links that are available, see all 10 answers, and it'll actually provide you 10 different customer answers for this one particular question. So this is a great way to identify, again, the selling points and also potential problems with a specific product. And a lot of these concepts will still apply to your entire niche in general. For example, have you had any problems with feathers coming out of the comforter? This is going to be a common problem and potential selling point for pretty much any comforter, down comforter that is out there on the market, because the down comforter is made with natural feathers, and these actually tend to slip through the fabric of the comforter itself if the thread count is not high enough. So once again, this is something that people are commonly worried about, for example, when they're looking to buy a down comforter. So I would definitely build a page on my website that would actually target this particular problem and question, and go through some of the products that I'm going to be promoting and actually identify which ones have this problem and which ones don't have this problem. And if they do have the problem, go in depth a little bit more and find out, why, figure out what exactly people have said about it. And it's quite all right to promote something on your website that may not necessarily be the absolute best choice for somebody, because budget is definitely something that you have to consider. Anybody can go out there and get, the most comfortable, fluffy, non-leaking down comforter in the world if you have enough money. But most people simply don't have that luxury of being able to choose anything that they want to. So sometimes they'll have to weigh out the pros and cons of the different products and try to decide on what exactly is going to work best for them. and their situation and what their budget may be. Now the customer reviews are yet again another place that you can get this great information from. I had also talked about this in the first lesson, but I wanted to revisit this again here because this is actually where I begin to take this information and put it into potential planning to go on my website. So this first review, which I believe I actually pointed out this specific review the first time around, it mentions a number of different things in plain text that was simply a concern for this particular customer when it came to buying one of these down comforters. They were concerned about the warmth, whether it was too hot or even too cold. They're a married couple, so one of them is actually always hot and one of them's always cold. Then they're also concerned about the softness and whether the filling was like evenly distributed throughout the whole thing or not. So by simply reading through what one person has said about this product, I already know what a couple of the most important parts about buying a down comforter are, at least for this one particular person. Now, you don't necessarily want to take what just one person says as the absolute truth on something, but when it comes to Amazon, there's, on this product at least, 252 reviews. So this is a ton of different information that I can sift through and actually figure out whether some of the things that particular people are saying seem to be common throughout what everybody is saying and not just what one person has been saying. The next review down here has yet again numerous different selling points and points of interest for this particular consumer. Warmth was yet again another factor here. So this is two people now, one after the other, that has actually mentioned the same thing being a concern for them. They were also concerned about the thickness or the fluffiness of it, whether it was actually heavy in terms of weight. It felt like it was kind of pinning you down to the bed, for example. And then he was also concerned about the filling, but in terms of it shifting and actually the stitching that was used in the construction of this comforter. And then he wanted to be able to, machine wash it if he needed to be able to do so. And then obviously the pricing was a concern for him as well. So this is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 or 7 different selling points that I've been able to pick up from simply looking through 2 different reviews off of this particular product. And one of the most important things to remember here is that you don't want to get necessarily blinded by the great reviews that are on a product. You should always take a look at some of the negative reviews for a product. I can actually click on this 1 star here, and it'll show me all of the poor reviews that have been left on this particular product, and it typically sorts them with the most helpful first up here. This person and honestly many other people throughout here simply say that it leaks feathers. And you can actually see that people leave comments on these particular posts as well. So while you have all these people saying that this down comforter leaks, you have other people commenting on those complaints saying that, essentially all down comforters leak, unless you're basically buying something that's probably going to be pretty expensive. And, further down here, you have another person actually mentioning a specific brand here that says that they are leak-proof from down feathers. So this could potentially be worth looking into to see if these products are available on Amazon to promote as well. But then they go on to say that Penzon comforters do leak some feathers, but it's really just tiny little floaty feathers that essentially are able to work their way out of the threading of the entire cover of the comforter. So while it seems to be a problem for this particular product, it also seems to be a problem that is essentially common throughout the entire down comforter industry, simply because of what it's made with and how these products are constructed. So it's just simply a common problem. So while it may initially seem like a negative point for this particular product, you may actually find that a lot of the other products that you'll be promoting on the same website could have the same type of problem. So you want to make sure that you address this issue on your website and actually educate the consumers on what to expect, and if particular products are better at overcoming a particular problem than others, you can even point out those specific products so that when somebody comes into your website and that's one of their concerns, they'll go through that page of your site, they'll look at all the concerns, and then they'll be able to actually go on to a product that might be the best at addressing those concerns. So you have to think of this all in a nice flowing sequence, from essentially taking a customer's problem to educating them to passing them along to purchasing the product that they're interested in, and one that also helps to solve that particular problem for them that they have possibly searched for. Now, in addition to all of these different products and different brands that I may be able to pick up off of Amazon, I could even use some more searching up here and try to find some other brands that I may not have picked up my first time around. And once I've put together my entire listing, then I want to make sure that I also have addressed a lot of these informational points, and the customer reviews and the question and answers are some of the best places to get these. But you can also find this information out most likely by searching through other websites out there on the internet. And I'm even going to discuss some more strategies with you here in a little while when it comes to researching the content for my pages. You can actually pick up some really interesting information using some of these strategies as well. So what I have done is once I come up with my entire list of keyword phrases and potential topics that I want to use for my website, then I will go and actually try to organize all of these different topics. So simply looking through this list right here, what I want to try to do is visualize how I could organize all of this information on my website in a way that makes sense to my visitors. It needs to be useful for them. And then obviously, like I was talking about a few minutes ago, I want to be able to take my visitors from these topics and forward them along to specific products that I'm promoting to try to complete my sale. So to begin with, what I'm going to do is actually just make a list of all the different pages that I'll be building on my site. Obviously, I'm going to have a home page on my website. When I look at the different sizes that are available for these down comforters, I could easily approach targeting these different sizes in a number of different ways. I could build one page on my website to just simply talk about sizes in general, and then I could link to 5 more pages on my website that each covered a particular size, and then I could attempt to promote products there for each of those various sizes. However, on this particular site, I feel like that would be a more heavily product-based targeting approach. So what I'm actually going to do for this particular topic is I am going to have a page that will be about sizes on my site. And that one page is simply going to cover all of these different points and keyword phrases. So I would simply perhaps write an article that would go through and talk about the 5 different sizes. I may even do some type of comparison chart or something to show the different dimensions for the various sizes, maybe what size of person or age of person, for example, the different bed types are intended for. Oh, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, Queen is mentioned twice here. I'm sure I intended for that to be a different keyword phrase. I'm not entirely sure which one that was. It may have been the California King, and I believe there was also, there's an oversized down comfort or an oversized king, which is likely in reference to a California King as well. That was a good catch. I'll change that to California King. So I'm just going to have this one page on my site that will target, thank you, by the way, George, for pointing that out, that will target all of these different sizes. And I could still link up from that particular page to different pages on my site that might be promoting a particular product that matches one or possibly more of these different sizes that are available for these comforters. So this allows me to potentially target all of these different keyword phrases on just one page of my site. And I feel like it's going to be a more useful way to approach this subject in terms of what my primary keyword phrase. It's a down comforter guide. So I don't really want to get too hung up and have 6 of the pages of my potential 20-page website that are all just simply talking about the sizes, because I feel like there are a lot of other useful page topics and selling points that I could also be talking about here. So now the next one that I've selected is to do something about fill power. I definitely want to make some type of a guide on fill power, and I'm also considering doing a comparison chart for different fill powers to simply talk about what each of the different levels are, what the maximum may be, what the lowest recommended number may be for you to buy to actually still get that comfort. The next one that I'm going to pick out is thread count. I have a couple of different points that I feel like I could address here, and I also feel like the thread count may have something to do with the leaking feathers for the down comforters. So this is, again, another point that I could try to address on this page. The next one is the down shifting, which is as a result of the comforter stitching. I feel like this is a very, very valid consumer concern for a lot of people that are interested in purchasing these down comforters. So I want to make sure that I address this problem and actually tell them why it happens, and then direct them along to some specific product advertisements that are, not going to have this problem. Leaking feathers is my next page topic. Obviously, I found this through the Amazon pages and the customer reviews that were there. Definitely a very, very valid point to address for the consumers. The next part of my planning here is going to be for brands, and I actually have a number of different brands that I was able to pick out. So what I'm going to do here is essentially make subpages for each of these different brands. So I will have a primary brands page, but then I will also have these additional pages underneath that brands page. And actually, for the pins on page, for example, I'm thinking that I'm going to build two different pages directly underneath that particular brand, and these are going to be to target specific products. One of these is actually their normal down comforter with the real down in it, and the other one is the alternative. And these seem to be the common names that people use to refer to these products. I also have found that there are some people interested in knowing exactly what this Pyrenees down is, for example. So I'm thinking I'm going to create a page on my site about this topic to be able to address this, and I can link this up from this particular page. And I could also link it up from other pages of my website because this Pyrenees down is actually a fill that is not necessarily common to just the Penzon brand. There are actually other brands that use that exact filling as well. IKEA and Pacific Coast are two other brands that I was able to find within the Google keyword ideas. And these brands seem to have some interest specifically for their down comforter lineup of products. So these seem like they could be good candidates to use on my own website as well, because they're obviously relevant, and I don't necessarily want to just target one brand on my site. I want to try to give people at least a little bit of a choice. So I will likely pick out one or possibly more different down comforters from each of these brands and promote them off of that particular page. Obviously, if I pick a couple of different products for each brand, I may do this more in a comparison chart style instead of just simply having a single product advertisement. That way I could, compare some of the different features and pricing and et cetera of a couple of different products within those brand names. In addition to the brands, I had some more informational type of pages that I was able to come up with. Care and washing of the comforters, again, seems to be really, really important. Goose down, obviously it's coming, the real down feathers are coming from real animals. And the problem is that after doing some researching, I was able to figure out that these down feathers actually clump up and begin to break down once they get wet. So typically, real down comforters are often not able to be washed. But then you have these alternative synthetic down comforters that are nothing more than super fine little bits of fiber, essentially real, synthetic material. So they can be washed. Whereas a lot of the real down comforters actually have to be dry cleaned. So again, I want to make sure that I address that point of concern for my consumers and point them along to products that perhaps can be washed and dried at your house without having to go out to a dry cleaner. Now, the heat and the weight of these particular comforters again, seems to be a major point of concern. A lot of people like down comforters, but they may believe that they're too hot during the summer months, or perhaps they have a really heavy down comforter that they use in the winter, and maybe they're looking to get a lighter one in the summer. A lot of this would really just depend on where the person lives and how much of a temperature swing their geographic location experiences throughout the different seasons. But there are definitely some people out here that are interested in this particular topic, so I want to make sure that I address that as well, and then once again forward some people along to some products that might be relevant. Now, I've mentioned forwarding these people along to products over and over again a couple different times here. What I'm actually talking about is not building product advertising on each of these different informational pages, but these brand pages right here. These may potentially be the only pages throughout my entire site that actually have advertising on them. And all the other pages would be informational pages, helping to funnel all of my traffic into these particular pages, depending on what their interests are and what type of problems they may be looking to overcome with their purchase. Now, the one exception to this is probably going to be this particular colors page here. I was able to find, a bunch of different colors that people are actually searching for. So I figured I would at least talk about this and see how many of these different colors I could actually find on Amazon available for sale, and try to promote as many of these as possible on this one particular page of my site. Now, I would probably do something like a comparison chart here for this particular page. The next topic is going to be down alternative comforters. If you remember from the last lesson, I actually was able to find that down alternative comforters have received a significant spike in traffic over the last couple of years. Google Trends actually indicates that it's up maybe somewhere in the 400% to 600% neighborhood. So this is definitely a point of interest that I want to address, and I'm going to address this not necessarily from a direct selling standpoint, but again from an informational standpoint. I want to talk to people about what down alternative comforters actually are, what the fill material is, what it's made out of, where it comes from. There's actually kind of some interesting stories behind all that, which I'll get to mentioning in just a few minutes here. Now, the other topic is hypoallergenic down. Come to find out that hypoallergenic and down alternative can sometimes actually be the same thing. However, this particular topic is essentially targeting the same type of product, but from a different perspective, potentially. This is specifically from a hypoallergenic standpoint. So I actually want to talk about why people might be interested in looking for this particular type of down comforter, how it can help them, how it's different from a standard down comforter, and why it can actually not give you allergies if you would normally be allergic to a down comforter. So I want to simply address this topic from a very specific point of view, and then once again pass them along to a product page on my site. All right, Pat, have a good night. Sorry you can't stay for the whole thing. See you again soon, though. Recording will be up again, should be by tomorrow, on ryanstevensonplugins.com/AMC. The very last page topic here is just simply going to be an about page. I just want to make, in essence, a completely useless page on my site. It's not going to link to any product advertising. It's just simply there to talk about my site, maybe give a little bit of a mission statement. I can even drop in a line about the products that I promote and give a little affiliate statement that Amazon requires on this page as well. So it's just a page that I've kind of gotten in the habit of building on each of my different sites, especially my Amazon affiliate sites. Because I think it's good to have a page that's essentially not really targeting anything. Now, when I go through and total up all of these pages right here, I actually get 19 pages. And I'm typically shooting to hit about 20 pages or so on these Amazon affiliate sites that I'm building. But if you end up a couple of pages short or a couple of pages over, that's quite all right. It's really just about whatever you feel like will fit good into your website in terms of the different topics that you want to target and address. However, when I actually look at this list a little closer, I have a lot of different informational pages and a fairly small amount of brand pages and product pages. Now, I'm quite all right with this, except for the fact that all of these other pages of the site, these 5 down here, and then these 5 up here as well, in addition to the brands page, so that's 11 total pages that are essentially planned to be grouped under this home page. And I think that might be a few too many pages to be covering each of them individually on the home page of my site. So I will quite possibly end up organizing these different topics into possibly 2 more categories. So I would have a home page and then 3 essentially category pages on my site, 2 of them containing these products, and then the other one being the brands page containing all of these different products. So this would just allow me to simply organize my pages in a more meaningful manner and in a way that is designed to help my website visitor be able to navigate through my site easier. But I still may very well link to these other particular pages through the home page, which I'll get to more of this when it comes to time to actually build the website itself. But I just wanted to mention that you don't necessarily want to have too many individual pages that are solely lumped up under the home page. You just want to try to organize everything as much as you possibly can in a way that makes sense, and you don't want to go too deep. For example, you don't want to have subpages of subpages of subpages of subpages and have people needing to dig through a ton of different pages of content on your site to actually be able to reach the information they're looking to find. You do want to make all the information readily available to them. Now, when it comes time to actually begin to figure out what you're going to be doing on your site, let me pause there for a sec. I got a question. Let's see. Nancy is asking, so brands would be an actual page with an article about brands and not just a category heading to show on the nav bar. Yes, that's correct, Nancy. When I talk about a category page, I do not use the WordPress category system. I'll build all of these different items here as a separate page on WordPress itself. So then the brands page would, like you were saying, be a fairly general page talking about down comforter brands, and then I will actually give some type of a brief summary on each of these 3 brands, Penzon and IKEA and Pacific Coast, and then I will link up to those 3 brand pages from that category page. And this basically just gives me control over the content of my brands page instead of leaving it up to WordPress by simply creating a brands category and then creating all of this stuff as a WordPress post. Again, we'll be getting to this in a lot more detail, I believe in 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so here, once we actually get around to putting the website itself together. So at this point, once I know what I'm actually going to be targeting on my website, I need to find out a little bit more about all this stuff. Unless you happen to already know about your niche and your products that you're trying to target on this website, then you're going to need to do some extra research. Now, it's possible you may have already learned this information just doing your Amazon and Google research up until this point. But if you find that you need to go and get additional information about particular topics, especially new topics that you may have dug up through the Keyword Planner or through Amazon itself, you know, there are a couple of different ways that you can find that information. Obviously, Amazon is one of them. A lot of these different questions that that I had come up with through the customer reviews and the question and answers, they were actually providing me the information that I needed to learn on those particular points of interest for consumers. So I could simply browse through Amazon and, you know, read as many different reviews from actual customers on some of those different points of interest for them. And this way I'm soaking up all of this information on the topic, so when it comes time for me to actually build my site and write the content for these pages, then I know what I'm talking about. I'm in essence becoming an expert on the topic. And you really don't have to be involved with a topic for years and years and years to become an expert. You don't even have to know absolutely everything about your niche to be able to do this. You just want to be an expert on a few particular topics that you're going to be discussing on your website, so you can provide you know, the most useful information for your website visitors. Now, Google is another example. I guess I should be mentioning here, for this content research portion, I'm not actually going to be showing you my exact research for this particular niche, because I've actually already done this throughout the last week, planning this particular lesson for you guys, because I feel like doing that might actually be a little limited, because I only used a couple of different sources of or ways of researching that information for this particular website. But there are some other sources of information that I didn't use for this particular site, but I use on some of my other sites. And it really just depends on the products that you're targeting, or the type of information that you're trying to learn about a particular niche. So I'm not actually going to show you exactly what I've done, but instead I'm going to be talking about some of the different methods that I will commonly use and have used for this site and other sites of mine that I've built. Google is another obvious place to get information. Google has information about any given subject matter, pretty much. So, you know, if you're building a page on thread count for down comforters and you have no idea whatsoever what thread count even means, just go to Google and search for it. You may even want to search the exact keyword phrase that you're planning on targeting on that particular page of your website. This way you can see what your competition has done for that particular phrase. You can see what type of information they have offered. You can see how that information compares to the other results that may be listed in the top 10, for example. You can see if they only cover information briefly or if they're talking about it in depth. For example, if you have a page that's talking about down comforters and it's spitting out terminology at you like fill power and thread count and stitching and alternative down and all this other stuff, you might not know what all that means unless they actually explain it to you. So you want to see the way that other sites have done this for particular concepts, because in essence you want to do it better than they have done it. You want to be able to offer better information, more in-depth information when it applies and it's actually going to be useful. You don't have to go overboard and explain things too much, but you want to make sure you're giving enough information to them to where they can actually make an educated decision based on what their needs are and the information that you've provided to them. So, my biggest thing is think about your website visitor, and really everything else will begin to fall in line after that. That's where your search engine rankings come from. If you're actually providing a useful site, then that's where your search engine rankings will help to stay where they are, into the long term, because you won't have things like the Google raters coming along and deciding that your site is too heavily of an affiliate site and it really only exists to promote those product advertisements, and it's not really a useful website for the keyword phrase that you might be ranking on. So as long as you're providing a useful page and result for whatever phrase you're targeting, everything else will fall into line after that. Now, the one particular strategy that I really think that too many affiliates ignore, maybe they've never thought of it before, maybe they just don't like to have interaction with other people when it comes to finding out information about these products or whatever, but there's companies all around you just waiting to hand all of this information to you, essentially. They have employees where that's their sole purpose, is to help the customer learn about products and to try to make an educated decision on their own about what exactly it is that they want to be purchasing. So you can find these companies obviously in person. Go down to a department store and walk into a particular section and just wait for somebody to approach you and start asking them questions about a product. Simply pretend to be a customer. If you don't want to have to actually go down to a retail store and sit there and talk to somebody in person, you could even do it online. Find a major retailer online that is selling the product that you're looking to promote, for example, or the product that you want to find out more information on, and then you could call them on the phone. You could email them through the support area of their website, for example. And some of these larger retailers will even have live chat agents that you can, type with back and forth online while you're actually sitting there browsing their website. And simply ask them questions about products. They could be questions that are helping you to figure out more information about your particular page topics, or it could simply be to do more research on a specific product that you're looking to promote on one of your pages. Now, some people may be worried about, for example, going into a real retail store and sitting there forever getting a bunch of information off of somebody. Number one, how do you remember all that information? And Number two, are you going to have a support? Oh, you're talking about on the affiliate site. Will I have a support page on my Amazon affiliate site? Is that right? I usually don't, unless I'm looking to build some type of interaction with my customers on that site. For example, usually my deciding factor is whether or not I decide to run a newsletter on the site. I feel like if I'm running the newsletter and I have that more personal interaction over the course of time with the same people over and over again, then I will try to provide them a support page, at least somewhere where they can go to send me a contact message. I usually won't bother with doing like a whole support ticket system or anything like that, but it could be, useful. They can actually be installed fairly easily. So I really think, Paula, that it will just depend on the particular niche that you're targeting. If you're targeting vacuum cleaner filters and you're running a newsletter so you can constantly sell those filters to your customers over and over again, then I would definitely be using some kind of support or contact system just so people can actually get in touch with you if they have questions about the things that you're talking about in your newsletter, for example. But otherwise, unless I'm running a site like that, I'm really looking for these Amazon affiliate sites to be hands-off once I've completed construction on them. Yeah. The hands-off is a great point. Yeah, if you provide support, then you have to constantly monitor it. And no, you don't have to build a list for these Amazon affiliate sites. Really, I don't think you will get a lot of attention trying to build a list unless there's, you need a way to draw people in to get them to actually sign up for your list. They need a reason to want to do it, and you need a reason to want to do it too. If you're selling, 60-inch HD TVs to people, chances are somebody that comes along and buys one off of your site's probably not going to buy another one for years into the future. So there's not really a lot of point in trying to hook them into a newsletter, for example. You really only want the people in newsletters that might be return customers into the future. And even on a somewhat regular basis too, once every couple of months, maybe 6 months at the most. So when it comes to going down to an actual retail store, from people that I've talked to in the past, they've asked me a couple of different things. Number one, how do I remember everything? How do I keep all the questions or things that I want to learn about straight in my head when I go in there to talk to people? And how do I actually remember everything that they tell me and then come back home and actually translate it all into a web page? And then the second thing is, how do I go in there and actually take all that time from a sales associate, for example, and get all that information from them and then just simply leave without buying anything? Because obviously it seems like if you get really that interested and hard up into researching a product that, they might be expecting a sale at the end of it. So one of the easiest things that you can do, it's a little bit sneaky, but it's a way that you can accomplish this and actually be able to retain all of the information that you're going out there to actually research. And then it's also another way that you can leave the store without having to feel as guilty for not actually buying anything from them. And that is just, everybody probably has a wife or a husband or a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Even if you don't, you can always say it's for your father or your roommate or mother. Doesn't really matter. Just, go and essentially you're living with somebody. And you guys are interested in purchasing a particular product. Let's say my wife and I are possibly interested in buying a down comforter. So I might go to a department store where they have all the real beds set up, and I could simply approach somebody and just say, you know, I'm interested in finding out more about down comforters. I don't own one. I've never bought one before, so don't really know much of anything about them. But, you know, my wife wants to get one, and, you know, she's busy and asked me to come and check them out and do a little bit of research on them. And you can actually be holding a notebook with information already written down, questions that maybe you want to know about these products. And then you could simply sit there and kind of interview the person and ask questions, ask them to tell you about important things about the particular product, and you can sit there and take notes the entire time. And then when you're done, you know, obviously you can't go ahead and make your purchase decision until you run all that information back by, you know, significant other, whoever the case may be. So you have a great way to present the information that you want to find out. You have a great way to record the information that they are giving you. And you also have an easy way to get out of the store without actually having to make a purchase on something. Now, I'm not saying you should necessarily do this for every single product that you're going out there and trying to research, but there are some times where, you know, you'll run across products online that you're interested in promoting, and you know, maybe it's just a little bit overwhelming for you to try to wrap your head around all the different technical things that it may be talking about. Like, for example, I remember the first time I went out and bought an HD TV. You know, I'm just like, what are all of these new terms and stuff that they're using with these televisions? You know, what's an HDMI cord, for example, which they're pretty much everywhere nowadays. But, you know, when the HD TVs first came out, a lot of people really didn't know what that stuff was. And even me, somebody who likes to use a lot of technology and uses it on a daily basis, it was still new to me even at one point when it first existed. So, you know, there may always be some type of particular information that maybe you can't find online, or maybe the information you find online about that subject simply isn't in depth enough for you. You know, maybe you just want more information on it. So this is, you know, I wanted to be sure to discuss these different strategies with you just so you have a nice variety of options to choose from. And if all else fails, if Amazon fails, and if Google fails, then you can usually research your products using this last strategy and find out, you know, any information that you're looking to find out. I thought I would pause for just a minute to see if any of you guys have questions at this point, and if not, then I will continue. I've still got a little bit more to go through. I'd say we're maybe a little past the halfway point though, so I thought I would just pause for a minute and see if anybody has questions. If there are no questions currently, I'll go ahead and continue. I don't want to make you guys sit around. I'll still be pausing at the end of tonight's lesson to give you guys a time period where you can ask more questions and get answers from me. Did not see anything about add-on items. Are you talking about the accessory stand that I had listed down here, right here? Okay, yeah, this is a good point. Stan mentioned that he didn't see anything about the accessories up here in the actual pages that I planned out for my site. as I'm going through this list of keyword phrases down here, this isn't necessarily going to be a final list of exactly what I will target, but I want to have all this information to use for future reference. Even if I don't end up targeting a page on my site for these keyword phrases now, what I actually ended up deciding to do in terms of the accessory items was that I figure on these brand pages where I am promoting, yeah, a lot of people do get bed sets, where I'm promoting a specific down comforter on some of these brand pages here. I thought that this would make a more relevant place to try to promote those accessories along with the products, and maybe even have a complete bedding set available for them there. So it's not that I decided to toss out accessories, but it's more like I decided to merge the accessories into another part of my site. And then I simply haven't made mention of it here, just because this list that I've come up with here, this is essentially just a basic summary for myself. So when it comes time to build my site, I can say, okay, I need to have a page that'll be my home page, so I'll create a home page. Then I need a page about sizes, so I'll create that page. And I can just go down the list and create a page for each one of these topics. But then when it comes down to actually selecting my keyword phrases that I'm going to be using throughout these different pages, then I'll return down to my original list here. This is why I kept this list down here at the bottom instead of rearranging all these topics and deleting things and adding stuff. I left all of this information the same because these are my keyword phrases that I want to target on various pages on my site. So then when I go through and build the content of the sizes page, I can look back down below and see what keyword phrases I'm looking to target on that particular page. I could even, if other keyword phrases end up working out on that page, I could target some of them there as well. So I just feel like it helps me with organizing all of my ideas together to make it easier when it comes to building my site, because you really don't want to build a site blindly, because you might begin creating content on various subjects and get a long ways into your work and possibly come to find out that maybe there's not a good product to promote to go along with that particular subject. If there are, what's that word supposed to be? Is that okays, or is there a letter missing there? Okay, if there are books about your main theme, do you include them? Yeah, I have done that before. Stan, if you feel like there is, for whatever niche you may be targeting, for example, if somebody had written a down comforter guide and it was like, an actual hardback book that they could purchase off of Amazon, that could be something that I could consider promoting on the site. I really just think it depends on whether it's a good fit for the site or not. Obviously, like for this particular example, I probably wouldn't promote a book, at least not on my primary subject matter, because that's what my site's about, and I want them to actually navigate through my website. However, for example, if I could find about a book about caring for or washing your down comforters, maybe especially down comforters that are supposed to be dry cleaned, if there was like some kind of book or tutorial guide about how you could actually clean those at home without dry cleaning them and without messing them up, that could address a very particular need and concern for people. So obviously, if there are products that can address a specific need, that you're talking about on your site, then yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with promoting a book. I think people still buy books. I still buy books. I'm not sure if everybody has switched over to ebooks or not yet. I know a lot of people like ebooks, but honestly, I think there are a ton of people out there that will still buy real books far into the future, because at least for me, if I'm buying a book and it's something about the computer, then I don't want to have the book open up on one screen and have to flip back and forth between that and another page to actually be able to learn the information. So I actually buy real books if I have the need to do so. Now, once you have planned out all of your different page topics, again, this is not quite yet a final decision to build pages about each of these particular topics. But this is kind of what I've come up with, and so I'm going to go through and research each of these different topics. And once I know information about the topics, then I can try to plan out the content that I will actually put on each of these pages. I want to talk about some of the important information that I'm looking to address on each of these pages, and maybe even how I will go about creating that page in terms of, whether I'll use an article or pictures or videos, HTML lists, comparison charts, or even a combination of all of those different things. It really will just depend on what type of information you have for a given subject in terms of how the best way would be to relay that information to your website visitor. Now this part I have already done ahead of time, because I actually sat down, I believe, for a good hour or two and typed all of this information out. If you want to take a closer look at it, it is in tonight's guidebook. I've taken screenshots of this entire file for you, and basically what this is exactly what I was just talking about. I've gone through each of the pages that I just planned for my site right here, and I have expanded on that information and talked about what I want to be covering on those particular pages. For the home page, I say this will be the front page of the website and will be, my quote-unquote down comforter guide. Since brands is really the only category that I have picked out here, and there are a lot of other sub-pages for the site, I should organize the other sub-pages to display them here in a manner that is easy to use. I was talking about that earlier, possibly grouping up all of these different informational pages into possibly 2 different categories. So by grouping them, I could feature and link to a number of the subpages under a description and a picture for each group. So basically what this means is I'll be able to link up to all these different pages from my home page, but I'm still going to organize the pages within a category just to provide that information in a way that's easier to understand and in a way that's going to look better and more organized on my actual website. Obviously, this will be something that I'll be getting into a little bit more when it comes time to build the actual website. My intentions here is to simply get it clear in my head what I'm going to be doing on each of these different pages, the information that it will cover, how I present that information, and maybe even talk about how you're going to loop it into your product advertising, which I'll actually be going on to talking about product advertising selection here in just a couple of minutes. I'm not going to go through every single one of these here, but I thought I would at least go through a few of them because, I've gone through each of these different 19 pages and talked about what will go on the page, what the page is going to be about. The hypoallergenic page, the hypoallergenic market is really big right now, so I want to discuss allergies to rail down comforters, present the solutions, and I figured out that I would likely end up doing this in just a simple article format. And then I could pass my website visitors along to relevant hypoallergenic down products. The colors page, like I had mentioned, I don't know if it's really going to be that helpful of a page. This is kind of the one page of the website that I'm not horribly convinced about whether it will end up working out great for me or not. But I'm still going to leave this up here as a possibility. And if I decide to throw this out and switch it out with something at a later point, that's quite all right. But I'm thinking if I could come up with different products for each of the popular colors, maybe I would just present a comparison chart for this particular page. Other pages, like my brand pages, I've identified that like Primaloft is a popular fill that is used for down alternative comforters. It's not exclusive to the Penzon brand, but that is what they use for their hypoallergenic down comforter. It's actually considered to be a luxury down alternative fill, and was actually contracted by the U.S. Army to be developed as a synthetic replacement for goose down, which was also hypoallergenic. And it's this ultra-fine fiber and not actual real feathers, so they can be machine washed and dried, and obviously they don't cause people allergies because they didn't come from a real animal. Whereas then like their Pyrenees line, this is their real down comforter. And I even have more information about the Pyrenees down in terms of where it comes from and its quality and information like that. So, feel free to go back through my actual guidebook and read through my plans for each of these different pages, because I'll have a decent amount of variety throughout these pages in terms of how each one will be built and approached. I'm not simply doing the same exact thing on every single page. I'm not just slapping an article up on every single one of these pages and then moving on and slapping up some product advertising. The whole point is to present the information in an actual useful and helpful manner. So once you've actually gone through and planned out all of your different pages and the content that you're going to have on all these pages, at this point you should start to have a pretty clear picture of how you'll actually work your product advertising into all of that page content. So what you will want to do before you actually commit to building any one of these pages on your site, one of the last things that you need to do is to actually go over to Amazon and simply make sure that there are products available that you can promote in the places that you are intending on promoting products. Now, obviously, when I was first on Amazon doing my niche research, I already identified Penzon comforters as one of my potential products that I was going to target. But then I've also picked out IKEA and Pacific Coast as keyword phrases that have some type of search engine traffic for them for specifically down comforters. And so I've decided to build a page on IKEA and also on Pacific Coast. So I also want to make sure that these brands are actually available on Amazon and that there are good products for these brands that I can promote on my website. This way I don't end up building a page about IKEA or Pacific Coast, and when it comes to place the product advertisements on that page, then I figure out, they're not available on Amazon. They're only sold, through their website or through retail stores or something of that nature. Now, the purpose of this is you don't have to actually go through and make a list of every single product that you are intending on promoting on your site at this point. If you feel like it's something that you would prefer to do, maybe some of the pages of your site will target a very specific product on Amazon, and so maybe you need to know that exact product and specific information about that product. That's a little bit of a different situation, whereas like on my site, I'm just going to have a fairly limited selection of brands and products, and I don't necessarily have pages on my site that are targeted to one particular product. The Pins-On comforters may be the two exceptions to that, but like the IKEA and the Pacific Coast pages, these may promote a couple of different comforter products from those brands all on one page. So I don't necessarily need to know that there are or know exactly what comforters I will promote on those pages at this point, but I just simply need to know that they exist and that there are good options to choose from for my product advertisements. So Pacific Coast, I can already find one right here on the same page where I found Pins-On. Pacific Coast is actually a very similar brand. I believe they may even be actually manufactured by the same exact company, except they seem to be a little bit more of a higher quality product. They seem to have a higher fill power, higher thread counts. A lot of people say that the Pacific Coast comforters do not leak. So this is a definite brand that and product choice that I want to make sure I'm promoting on my site. And now I know for a fact that there is at least one good Pacific Coast comforter. This one has a rating of over 4 stars, 4.5 stars. So I already know that would be a great choice. Now I can go and search IKEA down comforter, for example, just to make sure that there are actually IKEA comforters out there that are for sale. And IKEA does seem to have some down comforters that are available. The listings don't look quite as flashy, and I don't see a lot of reviews on this particular brand on Amazon, but I know that there is search engine traffic out there for this particular brand of down comforter. So there are at least a couple of products here. This one has 9 reviews, and this one has 2, and this one has 1. So these are definitely making some sales on Amazon, but perhaps they just don't have enough exposure to actually get their sales volume pumped up more than what it's already at. So this will be yet another brand that I'm going to attempt to target on this site and list some of their down comforters. They really seem to be more of a budget down comforter, even cheaper than the Pins-On comforters, which is likely a reflection of the quality of the comforter too. But a lot of times somebody who wants the product and doesn't have $200 to spend on a down comforter, they might be happy to take one for $62 instead. That may not be quite as good as the $200 one, but for their purposes, it may be everything that they wanted, and obviously, get it for a cheap price as well. So then, beyond Pins-On and IKEA and Pacific Coast, I will obviously be promoting some accessories for those products when I can find them, but it won't necessarily matter if I can find them or not, because I know for a fact that they exist for at least one of my brands. I know that they have those accessories for Penzon on Amazon itself, so there will be at least one brand that I know I will be able to promote accessories for. But in addition to the brands and the actual down comforters for those brands, the colors is another thing that I was possibly interested in. So what I could simply do is to search for down comforter. Over on the left-hand side, you can see that there are actually colors listed over here where I could simply select one of them and it will show me down comforters in that color. So all I will basically do is go back through my color list, and to ensure that I can find at least one decent product with halfway decent reviews, or what seems to be the potential for that product to be able to sell, and simply promote a variety of these different colored down comforters on that one particular page to help address the need of people who might be looking to buy something, maybe not even necessarily for a functional use type of purpose, but just for the look. I remember growing up, at least, like in my dad's house, there was always a guest bedroom, and it had this big comforter that was, a solid color or a particular design on it, and I don't ever remember seeing anybody sleep on it or on the bed. And if they did, then the comforter was removed before they were actually, sleeping in the bed. So a lot of people just buy things like this simply for design purposes in their house to make a color theme come together in a particular room, for example. Let's see, Bernie is asking, Ryan, would you create a page called something like Budget Conscious Comforters? Yes, possibly. It kind of depends on, for example, the keyword phrases that might be available, and also just how I'm structuring my site. For my particular site, let me pull up the page topic list here again. For my particular site, my products are really only on these brand pages. So I'm not really looking to create all of these products on my informational pages. However, what I could do, for example, is since I believe that the IKEA brand may be more for the budget conscious, or those looking for discount down comforters. I believe I recall seeing some search traffic for various budget or discount related down comforter keyword phrases. I could simply talk about that on the IKEA page and try to target that keyword phrase in that manner as a secondary phrase on my IKEA site or on my IKEA page. And then I could talk about, for example, Primaloft being a luxury down comforter or a luxury down alternative comforter. But then as you're talking about, I could also create just another informational page on my site that was about budget conscious comforters, for example. I could promote specific items that were budget conscious on that page, for example, or I can make it more informational and try to simply direct traffic along to a brand page. So I might create a discount page and talk about discount comforters, where the lower price tag, what you're really losing by paying less, what they're taking away from the product in terms of quality or whatever the case may be. And then I could direct them along to the IKEA page, for example, from that type of informational page. So yes, I would, Bernie. It's really just a matter of what subjects you want to go after on your site and how you want to target them, and also kind of how you want your site to appear overall. For this particular site at least, like with it being a down comfort or guide, I think a lot of people would be expecting to land on the site and see a bunch of advertisements, or to land on a site that feels like it's pushing products upon you instead of trying to be helpful. So I've really selected most of my terms here based on trying to help the customer and providing the right information to them. But yes, budget or discount products that could still be considered helpful to the consumer. I just think it's more of a direct sales approach. So I will often include topics like that on my actual product pages, unless I feel like it's a good fit for my overall website. Let's see. Stan is asking, how do I tie in the gold and special discounted items on Amazon? That's a good question. I will actually be revisiting that in more depth. I want to say in the 8th or 9th lesson. Basically, once the entire website is built, then I'm going back through and adding in all my product advertising. I'll go and check Amazon or do it through one of my plugins that I've provided for all of you guys, and to just see if anything fits. And if there is something that fits, I'll try to tie that in to one of my pages, for example, or I may just create a completely separate page on my site if I have found that there's, for example, in the bedding category, if there's always something bedding related that Amazon has as a gold box deal, for example, then I might just simply create a bedding deals page on my website. And that's on which plugin should we learn first? Well, I'll be teaching all of them to you, Mike. All of the ones that I distribute and recommend to use for building Amazon product advertising. So I'll actually kind of be giving a bit of a crash course when we get to that lesson on all of my different plugins. So I'm going to teach you guys how to use them, how I actually use them, and then I will physically use them to create all of the advertisements to put on my website, so you guys can actually see all that firsthand, and obviously ask questions as I proceed through all of that. Once once I have all of my product advertising essentially figured out, once at least knowing that I have options for each of my different pages that I'm planning on putting advertising on, what I'll do is just go back through this list once again, and then I might go to my pins on page and just mention that there's one down comforter that I found that I want to promote on there. If it's a particular specific product, feel free to go ahead and list that. Maybe even just copy the Amazon link to that particular page, just so you can have reference to it in this list that you have been working on for your site. So then I could go through and talk about exactly what products I'll promote on those pages, and then I could go back through the additional pages of my site, the informational pages, and actually talk about how I will link up those pages to other parts of my website. For example, on my down, shifting, and comfort or stitching page, I'm planning on linking up to the Penzon down comforters that I'm promoting on the site. The reason for doing that is because the Penzon comforters have a patented box stitching that they use on their comforters, and there are a lot of great customer reviews that have actually mentioned that it's doing what it's supposed to do, and it keeps all of the down filling from shifting around. So I feel like the Penzon comforters are going to be my best potential sale off of the information that is on this particular page. But then on another page, on the Leaking Feathers page, for example, there are a lot of complaints about the Penzon comforters for leaking feathers, but Pacific Coast has actually received really great reviews in terms of them leaking considerably less feathers, or possibly even none at all, depending on how expensive of a comforter they have ended up buying. So all of this is just essentially positioning you to be able to build your website and to not have to actually worry about what you're going to be building on that site. You can just come back to your list, refresh yourself with this information, and go through and just build one web page on your site after the next, and you'll already know exactly what will be pointing to other pages on your site. You'll know what ads are going to be going where, and it really helps to organize all of this information, because it's honestly really hard to keep track of all this just simply in your head. 20 different pages, each page is about a different topic. Some pages will link to other pages, some pages will have product ads, and others won't. And specific products that are getting promoted where. It's just a lot to keep track of. So I find that putting it all in one centralized location that you can refer back to in the future when it comes time to build those pages is really one of the easiest ways to go. And I still keep all of my keyword phrases down at the bottom of it that I had originally researched. So when it comes time to actually write the content for these various pages, so I know what keyword phrases that I want to actually target on various pages or throughout the content of my pages, for example. So obviously at the end of this lesson, once you have gone through your own niche and domain name that you have selected and primary keyword phrase that you're going to be targeting on your site, you want to plan out all of the different pages on your site. You want to know keyword phrases that you're going to be targeting on these pages. You want to know where you're going to be putting advertisements on some of these pages. And again, it does not have to be on all of the pages. In fact, I actually recommend against putting advertisements on every single page of your site, especially the home page. I feel like if you can bring in a visitor to your home page and not show them an advertisement, I feel like you're showing some restraint, and you get a lot less bounces off of your website, where essentially people land on your site, see that you're pushing advertisements at them straight away, or maybe that you're not a useful website, and then they just simply close it or go back to Google and choose a different site. So I'm looking to avoid that as much as possible. I want people to get involved with my websites and to actually take something useful away from them to help them solve problems. And then in turn, obviously you're not going to do it with every single website visitor, but you will build trust with some of your visitors doing it that way. Let's see. Kathleen, you mentioned plugins. Where can I locate them? I was wanting to say that you're already a VIP of mine, aren't you, Kathleen? I think you may already have all of those plugins, which don't you receive all of my future plugins for free, or are you not Are you not on that membership? Oh, I was thinking you were. Let me write myself a little note here, Kathleen. I will look into that as soon as this webinar is over and get back to you. And I'll send you links to all that one way or another. I was thinking that you may have already had all those plugins, and I'm trying to think back on the email that I sent you at the beginning of the class. I'm thinking that I didn't include all those links because I was thinking you already had them or were part of the VIP program. If I was wrong about that, my apologies. I'll definitely get that straightened out for you as quickly as I can. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll definitely check on that for you then, Kathleen. And I should be able to get back to you on that pretty quickly. I usually take a 5 or 10 minute break after these webinars, so my head can stop swimming from all the information rolling around in it. But then after that, I'll be sure to jump on that for you. Yeah, let's see, Paula, I think those 5 plugins that you have, those should be the ones that you receive for free. And yes, Stan, I believe everybody's should be okay. There were just a couple of particular people that have received my past, and they also receive my future plugins for free as being a VIP member. And let's see, Paula's actually asking how to become a VIP member. I actually don't even sell that membership currently. It's kind of something that I've done just at random intervals throughout my time developing products. I believe I want to say I've done it since 2010. I think I have made that offer available possibly 3 or maybe 4 times since 2010. So it's not something that I do very often. It's just basically a one-time fee to become a VIP member, and then you get my future plugins for free. But I try not to oversell that. Yeah, that's awesome, Stan. In essence, most people that are, if you're already in this course, you got what I consider to be my 5 primary WordPress plugins. And honestly, all the other ones that you may not have received as part of that, I believe I think I'm at 9 total plugins that I've built. So there's really only 4 more in addition to those, and most of them are not like my major flagship plugins, especially for Amazon affiliates, and they're all fairly affordable too. So you can actually get those other 4 plugins if you wanted to for, I don't know, $20 to $30, give or take, whereas the VIP memberships usually 200, 250, I believe, are the amounts I've ran it at in the past. So it's really more something in the past that I have offered for people that were perhaps new customers of mine, and offering them everything all together. Yes, let's see, Pamela. The advertisement on the website should focus on Amazon only, or can be others as well, such as AdSense. I have heard it shouldn't go together. Should I focus on one thing? Is it true? Yes. At least when you are getting started, try to focus on just one thing. If you're building, an Amazon affiliate site, have nothing but Amazon affiliate advertisements on that website. Simply because of the monthly payout limits that a lot of companies have. If you only have one website, for example, that's generating traffic or earnings, and let's say you put your Amazon affiliate advertisements up there, at least if you are in the USA, or it may just be with Amazon.com, period. I believe their payout limit's only about $10. So it really doesn't take a lot of earnings to actually get a payment from Amazon. However, with something like AdSense or other networks where you'll commonly find physical goods that you can promote as an affiliate, like Commission Junction, CJ.com, they'll have typically a $100 payout limit. So you actually have to earn $100 on their network before they will send you a payment. So obviously, if you only have one site or a limited source of traffic and sales that are going to be coming through that source, then you don't really want to be splitting them up amongst different sources, simply because you could earn, $50 on Commission Junction and $50 on Google AdSense, and the only money that would actually hit your pocket would be the Amazon money until you were able to earn enough on those other sites to get a payout. So I think in terms of a more short-term reward, like, I think it's important to get those initial payments into your pocket so you can see that, hey, what I'm doing is actually working and making money for me, and all I have to do is continue what I'm doing now, continue replicating the process, and I can continue to grow that income. It's I feel, for me at least, when that originally happened for me many years ago, that was kind of the point where things clicked in my head, and I went from having to talk myself into doing the work that was essentially making me nothing into a more self-motivating state where, hey, I just got a payment. If I do some more work, maybe I can make that twice as big for next month. And it becomes exciting. You wake up every day and you log into your Amazon affiliate account to see how many sales you may have made while you were sleeping. That was at least a long time ago. That was something that always really tickled me. If you go out and you work a labor-intensive job, basically the only job I ever worked, a real job at least, was cooking back in high school. And it's not fun. You don't get paid a lot of money. You have to actually put in time for every single penny that you're earning. So then, when you figure out a way to do something else and you go to sleep for the night and you wake up in the morning and you're like, holy cow, I made $10 while I slept, or I made $100 while I slept. It really gets encouraging to continue pushing forward and doing even more in that manner. So I definitely, Pamela, to get back to the actual question, although I think I may have answered it already up through here, just focus on one, at least to get started with. If you have a ton of different sites and you have no problem hitting $100 monthly limit on 2 or 3 or 4 different sites all at the same time, then it's something you could consider doing in the future. But definitely, to begin with, focus on one. And often, even though, for example, I can build a AdSense site and link it in with my other AdSense sites that I have, because I do use AdSense on some of my websites. But what I will typically do is only use still one site, one network on each of my websites, simply to keep them from competing against each other. With Google AdSense, for example, the goal was to get somebody to click on one of the AdSense advertisements, in which case they're taken away from your web page, making it pretty much impossible for that person to end up converting a sale on one of your Amazon advertisements. However, if let's say you put a whole bunch of work into an Amazon affiliate site, let's say you're getting a ton of traffic on your site, but maybe you can't convert any of that traffic into sales for one reason or another. Let's say you figure out that the products you're promoting on Amazon, maybe they're available somewhere else for a cheaper price. Maybe you can run down to your local Walmart and get it for 20 bucks cheaper or something like that. So possibly you figure out at a later point in time that sales are simply not coming through for whatever the reason may be. If you find that you can't really change out your product advertisements or switch the way that you have gone about doing things, if you have traffic on the site, you could simply use AdSense then instead of Amazon, because you don't need to refer sales with AdSense. All you need are those clicks, and it's more about traffic with AdSense than it is about your traffic being highly targeted and geared towards wanting to complete a purchase. So I hope all that made sense and is helpful for you at least. Let's see. Copy and paste the table about the sizes and kinds of pins-on comforters on Amazon. Let's see. Was that? Are you talking about this this chart right here, George? Is this the table you're referring to? If you wanna look at that particular page. Okay, yes. Is that what you're wanting to look at, that particular page, so you can look at that chart a little bit closer? I want to say I put a screenshot of that chart in the guidebook as well, if I'm not mistaken. Should be in the first chapter of it, I would think. Any other questions you guys may have for me tonight? Oh, you're saying would I copy this exact chart to my website? But bye, Paula. Have a good night. See you next week. In terms of using this information, this product description information direct from Amazon on your actual websites, I really think it just kind of depends from the point of view of how exactly you may be looking to promote that particular product. I may actually try to create my own comparison chart for the Pins-On brand. In a way, this chart is helpful, but in another way, it actually has a number of different versions to it, I believe. Like if I change the size selection, then it changes the fill amounts down here, and it actually changes the size dimensions up top here. So there really seem to be, numerous different versions, essentially, of this same comparison chart. So when it comes to building my own page on my own website that might target these Pins-On products, I may try to look at the information in these charts and simply try to rehash that information in my own way that might be a little easier to understand, and maybe even something that I could apply to all the different sizes at once instead of having, 3 different comparison charts, one for each of the different size types that are available for sale. However, in terms of legalities, I do believe that it is quite okay to use the product description information, anything that is provided right here, because Amazon does provide you with a way to retrieve this information through their API system when you're creating product advertisements. This is something that could be done through my plugin. Actually, if you were creating an advertisement for this page and you included the product description in that advertisement, then it would actually show all of this text and even this comparison chart in that product listing that was built with my plugin. So from a legality standpoint, yes, it is okay to use these as long as they're within this product description area and as long as they're unaltered. See, they have a copyright notice down here at the bottom, so you can't essentially take those and recreate them in your own way by using their pictures and stuff. I'd have to, if I wanted to recreate it, I have to recreate it all from scratch, or I have to use it essentially how it is provided to me here. Now, you're quite welcome, George. Next week, the next Azon Masterclass will be held on Tuesday, August the 27th. Once again, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and running until approximately 9 p.m. Next week, I'm actually going to be going through and starting to work on the real website. We're not actually going to be building content on the site. In essence, next week's lesson is a little bit on the boring side, maybe. It's all the tedious but necessary work that you have to do to get your domain name set up on a hosting account, point the domain name to your web server, and then, installing WordPress, getting your plugins and your themes set up, doing all of your initial settings for WordPress as well. It's basically preparing the entire site. That's a good question, Sam. Yeah, I mean, if it's scheduled, is that on the 9th or that's on the 9th, isn't it? Labor Day? Let's see. Yeah, if I have happened to have scheduled one of these. Oh, it is on the 2nd. Ew. So I actually have the week after next. Yeah, okay, well. I will still be, yeah, Labor Day is September the 2nd. I do have a webinar for Azon Masterclass planned for that day. My dates were actually picked simply starting from the very first date. I selected that, and then each of the following dates were merely 6 days after the next. How do you guys feel about it about having one on Labor Day evening still? Is that something that you would still attend if I run it on that day? I don't have any problem running it on that day. Even though it is a holiday. Okay. Fine for you at least. Okay, good. Chris, Mike, Bernie, excellent. It is a Monday, Rhonda. Uh, September the 2nd is a Monday. And oh, it's your youngest son's birthday. Happy birthday to your son, Stan. Um, if you it's your wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary. And it's your birthday, Mike? Holy cow. Wow, that's crazy. 3 people in here. I have one, Mike's birthday, and Stan's youngest son's birthday, and Rhonda's wedding anniversary. You guys all need to have a party September the 2nd. Okay, I mean, I will still hold that class simply on September the 2nd, simply because I had already scheduled it for that day. I don't want to cancel it or reschedule it, just unless there were a ton of you guys that just said, "Hey, no, that's not going to be a good day." But yeah, I'll still be here, and I'll still be running it on that day. You're quite welcome, Pamela. See you next week.